Okay, guys, well, welcome back to the Science Lab. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about just how airfoils work, and we're going to talk about it in the most basic sense to sort of think about how airplanes lift themselves into the air. This is kind of coming out of nowhere. I don't think it's really related to other science experiments we've done, but I do think that it's something that a lot of people have misconceptions about. How is it that planes really lift?
Because they're so heavy.
Yes, so much tonnage of weight.
If I understand correctly, I believe it's magic. I think we talked about this before.
It is magic.
Right,
Magic.
absolutely. So magic is the right way to fly. If you're out of magic, you can use lift.
Oh.
So let's talk today. We're going to talk today a little bit about lift and what it is and air pressure. So what I have for each of my participants here is a piece of paper. This is just scrap paper from my classroom. So it has physics stuff on it, but don't worry about that. That's not relevant. This can be any piece of paper. And a straw. For a second piece, we're just using empty soda cans, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But guys, if I get each of you pick up your straw. Okay, and go ahead and just stick it in your mouth because you're going to be using it to blow on stuff throughout here. Okay. So
Does it matter which side?
No, it doesn't really matter which side. Okay, and then what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you pick up a model with Nate's here. I'm going to have you pick this up, and let's just start by, if you guys would just blow directly on to the paper like that, and we'll just see what happens. Yes, very nice. Excellent technique, all of you. Okay, so what's happening?
It's lifting up.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, it's lifting up, definitely. Why?
The air that you're blowing.
Okay.
The air pressure underneath it is more than the air pressure above
Yeah,
it.
so to get a little bit more sciencey, so a lot of times what we'll say is, okay, air is just blowing, and that's what's pushing it, and that's true. But thinking about it from a little bit more of a sciencey perspective, what we want to talk about is the idea that all the air coming at one side is creating air pressure on this side of the paper greater than on this side, so the paper starts to push away. It's really the differential in air pressure, right? If on the back side of the paper there was equal pressure pushing back, then the paper would move.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. I was just like, air is pushing on it, so it's going to move.
And that's what we typically do,
Yeah.
right? And so there's another thing we can do here that's even cooler. Well, that wasn't cool at all. But there's a cool thing that we can do. So this is what I'm going to have you guys do. And this sometimes works better if you just blow with your mouth, but I'm going to have you start with the straw. The straw is really for the next piece. Let's try with the straw, and if not, you can do it with your mouth. Let me give you directions, and then I'll have you do it, okay? What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you bring the paper up to your mouth or to the end of your straw, okay? And then you're going to blow over the top of the paper. And in fact, you can blow kind of right down onto the paper itself. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
I think so.
Okay, let's try it and see what happens.
So we're kind of just holding it like this.
And yeah, and blow down hard on the paper. And
it's
maybe
kinda
down
lifting.
and across it. Oh, Nate just got a good
lifted.
one there. Nate, can you do that again? Okay, so see if you guys can do that. You're going down on top of it. There, Becca got it. Jeff got it. Keep blowing, guys.
Getting a little lightheaded.
Okay, let's just stop for a minute. So just a minute ago, you blew on a side of the paper and it pushed away from you. Now you're blowing on a side of a paper and it's coming in that direction. In fact, should be a little bit counterintuitive, right? Because I'm blowing on one side of the paper, and yet that is the side that is raising itself.
Yeah,
Why?
I thought it would push it down further.
That's what you would expect, right? So what is going on?
Something about the air pressure.
It's got something to do with that for sure. We're
well,
gonna figure
if
out
the
what it
air
is.
pressure,
So if we're blowing on it,
Maybe
it's
the
higher
pressure-
pressure, right?
Okay, so if it was higher pressure on top, it would push down.
Down.
So what does that tell us about where the pressure must be higher?
Below.
Down below.
Below.
Yeah.
but why?
But why is the question? Okay, and there's a little trick here, a small piece of understanding about how air works and air pressure, and this little understanding I think explains the way a lot of fluids work. So, when air or any fluid moves faster than other air, okay, so we have two sets of air, and one side of the air is moving faster than the other, it will have lower pressure. Faster moving air has lower pressure than slower moving air.
Is that something to do with like the molecules or something inside, like moving more rapidly, being more spread out?
In a way,
bit?
exactly, right? I mean, in a sense, over a given amount of time, you have a less total mass on that side. And if we could jump to my computer screen just really fast, there's a really simple graphic of this that we can sort of see. So what's shown in this, as soon as we get it up, is a side view of an airplane wing, something we call an airfoil. And we may do future experiments where we'll actually look at different airfoil shapes, but we're just thinking very generally today. So an airfoil is the shape of a wing, or a blade, a fan blade, let's say, that allows air to pass over differently on one side than on the other. So you guys can probably see from the graphic, we've got faster moving air on top of the wing and slower moving air on the bottom. And that has to do with the fact that the shape is different top to bottom.
It's allowing the air to go up, and
In-
it's kind of blocking the air from going.
Yeah, so think
on
about it
the
like this.
bottom of it?
The air on the top has to travel the same it's going to end up at the end at the same time as the air on the bottom, but it has to travel a greater distance.
Oh.
So it has
make
to
sense?
make up for that.
So it has to
somewhat
make up for
faster. Okay.
Right. So it's moving at a faster speed, and as we just talked about, that's going to create a lower pressure. And on a small scale, like blowing onto a piece of paper, you can get a piece of paper to lift. But on a large scale, when you get a really well-made airfoil and a lot of speed, you can lift many, many tons into the air. It's pretty incredible, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Cool. All right, well, let's try one other little experiment. This one is really fun. Now, we can do this a couple times, but every time we do it, we're going to lose
That's my
the
straw.
cans that we use. This is a cool experiment you can do with just 2 empty soda cans of any kind. Doesn't matter the brand.
straw.
And what we're going to do is again, kind of try to tackle that counterintuitive idea that when I blow on something, it pushes it away, right? Because that's a typical idea that I think a
Yeah.
lot of us operate under. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to have Becca do this first.
Oh no, my straw.
I know, I did too.
This be like Nate's always next to me, so I give him the
Yeah.
opportunity to do a lot of stuff.
Which I like.
Fine.
Spread out a little bit. So we're gonna make these fairly close together, and I'll see if I can get them set up for the side camera. I don't know if that's something we can do, but what you're gonna do, Becca, for us is blow between the two of them really hard using your straw. Okay, so if I could just let Nate, can I see your straw? So essentially, you're coming like right here, and you're gonna blow really hard between them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, before you do it, Jeff, what do you expect to happen?
Well, I'm thinking that they're probably going to go
Right.
like a side.
Absolutely. Okay, let's do it, Becca. Super hard,
I
Becca.
could blow harder.
You might have to come up a little bit, yeah, and right in the middle. Oh, didn't quite get it.
Let's try that again.
Try again.
Okay. They came together.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of rotated in.
Let's see if we can get somebody. Let's let Jeff. Let's let you.
Okay.
In. Okay.
So we.
You gotta really come close to it. Get your straw between them and blow hard. Came together. Okay, Nate, explain why.
Air pressure.
Air pressure, definitely. Well, so where must the
Okay.
pressure be lower? Let's just start
So
with that.
the pressure, if you're blowing here,
Yep.
like the air is going in between, the lower pressure would be here, right? Oh wait, sorry. The higher pressure would be
On the outside.
here
Why?
because it's not moving as fast.
Exactly. So when Becca or Jeff were throwing air through the center of these,
Okay.
you guys were creating a fast-moving patch of air. And as we just talked about, fast-moving air has lower pressure. So all of a sudden, all the air around the cans became much higher pressure than the stuff in
Right.
between, pushing them together. If you do this, I've seen it done I've done it a number of times, where if you really blow hard, they will bang into each other and kind of ricochet apart.
Can you
Which
do
is sort
it?
of neat. We can try. Let's see if Nate can get one for us.
Isn't it?
All right.
Isn't it true that airplanes are made out of aluminum too? Is that true?
Yeah,
Because-
some parts of airplanes are made out of aluminum,
does that make it-
definitely, and extremely high grade aluminum. So aluminum is a general term. We mix lots of things with the element aluminum to get different grades of it, different strengths,
And different
lightnesses.
weights, yeah.
Exactly. I use really lightweight stuff for camping, but it breaks fairly easily.
Right.
Airplane stuff is going to be real tough. And in many cases, I think they also are using titanium
Oh,
on
okay.
airplanes. Okay.
Interesting.
So Nate, go ahead, give us a whirl.
So am I actually putting the straw in between, or
Yeah, I mean, right up to that point, because you want to create that,
Okay.
that patch of air there, and really, come on, Nate, all the you know,
All
lung
the stuff.
capacity
All
I know
right.
you've got. Math teachers are famous for. Oh yeah. Let's. There we go.
is that better?
Oh, that looks beautiful.
All right. Is that close enough?
Yeah, I think that should be close enough. Let's give it a try. Yeah. essentially what we were
They
going
kind of
for.
did. They kind of
did
slammed
kinda
off of each
swirl
other.
in.
Yeah, they
and
kind of slam off, and I think it's just cool because again, it just gets back to that idea.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I think, voiced it perfectly. When you blow air between two things, you would expect them to go apart. from each other. And in some instances, we do see that, especially if you were blowing at one of the cans, you would push it away. Because
So the air wasn't going like exactly in between the two cans. I think that's what happened
what's
the
happening
first
for
time
all of
I
them, yeah.
did
Exactly.
it. Was I kind of, my aim wasn't so good.
Well, and the aim is
So-
really important, right? Because if you're blowing air directly at the can,
gonna
you're
blow
actually
away.
creating a high pressure space right there. It's when air moves laterally past something that it creates a low pressure space. So that sort of direct perpendicular air motion is going to put the pressure right onto the can, and then of course that pressure is higher than what's behind it, and the can moves away from you.
So, what we're seeing is like this rotation, it almost looks like, and I think that's maybe because of it's
Probably the
not
way
quite
we're blowing.
even, right?
Exactly.
So if theoretically, like these cans we like set this up really precisely
Yep.
and blew exactly in the middle, would we see them hit like that, or would
Yep.
they maybe come forward a little bit?
They should hit
They should just slam inside.
just like that. I mean,
Okay.
maybe a little bit forward because there might be patches of, excuse me, they might even move a little bit backwards because there'd be patches of low pressure air here.
Oh, right, because the air is moving faster. That'd be interesting.
It would be, there'd be different ways that we could try to set this up, but I think that this sort of gets to the idea of the cool thing about these kinds of experiments, and there is not a cheaper experiment or easier experiment in the world you can do than blowing over the top of a piece of paper. And it's simple, I guess, but it's pretty amazing that happens. And it's a minor way to look at how this sort of really big concept of air pressure affects us in our lives. And you can do this in lots of different ways. You can take different materials that might be around your house and try to do this. Try to create different air pressure spaces and see how things move.
So it's the slower the air, the higher the pressure, and the faster the air, the lower the pressure.
That is exactly right.
Okay.
Which is probably something that gets mixed up a lot, right? I
So
would think
mixed up.
faster air, higher pressure is what I
Well,
would
and,
think.
and just like we talked about, the fact that the sort of direction of the air can create pressure space here versus it's not
Right.
so clear to us when we're going through our everyday lives, so it seems a little counterintuitive. But essentially, that's the basic concept. Faster moving air is lower pressure, slower moving air is higher pressure. And if you see out there in the world as you're going around, if you see things kind of flapping in the wind or even like fans moving, it's worth it sometimes just to think about, okay, how is the air moving over here, and maybe how is some of that motion being created by differentials or differences in air pressure?
Like in that scene in American Beauty where that dude was videotaping that bag flowing around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, that's a sort of a silly scene from a movie, but it is sort of a thing where this guy is just sort of amazed by the way that air can move a bag. And I think, if you can kind of get to that state of looking at something simple and being like, oh, that really is, there's a lot going on there. And as scientists, I think science gets this bad rap as a technical school subject when it's a way of looking at the world and trying to figure out how things work. And there are people that do it very artistically, I think, and there's a way to look at it, as I'm just going to figure out all the beautiful, simple things about the world and how they work and how I can understand them for myself. So, going a little existential there on Homework Hotline Science
Very deep.
Lab. But I think we'll wrap it up there for today. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We will be back in the Homework Hotline studio in just a minute.